Shalom, shalom, Ko Yisrael. This is Netanyahu coming at you again with another video. First and foremost, I want to say all praise be to the Most High, hallelujah. And in this video, I would just want to talk about briefly some of the rulings and how us as Israelites, how we are to go about the concept or the ritual of marriage. So in this video, I'm just going to really be going through a short walkthrough of how the service would look. Now we know first, before an individual even gets to the point of marriage, the Hebrew man and Hebrew woman, both being Torah keeping, have to be okay with each other, and be on one accord, and that it is mutual. And they would have already been going through what's referred to as betrothal, with essentially betrothal is, in modern terminology, engagement. Because in Torah, if a man were to sleep with a woman that is betrothed, meaning she hasn't been officially married, she has not received a Ketubah, being a marriage contract, but if a man sleeps with a woman that's betrothed, he still is judged for that. It's still as if he's committed adultery. So, us as Israelites, when we are going about these things, there's stages to it. First, there is a mutual agreement between the man and the woman that they enter into what's referred to as the betrothal phase. And that betrothal phase really should only last a year. So an engagement should really only last a year. And that year is just to give time for the man to get the essentials he needs, the woman to get the essentials she needs, to prepare for the ceremony. So just to note that. So now, after all that has been done, and you've ironed out those things, and you realize, okay, I want to marry this person, they want to marry me, and then you're prepared to go about conducting the ceremony. What would be done first is that a ketubah should be written, a marriage contract should be written. So our forefathers did not do anything like this without putting it in writing. So being able to go about doing that, and without having to go through the state and have the state be the third party in your marriage as opposed to the Most High. So you would write a ketubah first, and you generally, the ketubah is written the day before the marriage, and of course you could get it printed on some nice paper or what have you. I mean, it's not like we have parchment as in antiquity, but if you want to get it printed out on some nice paper or what have you, nice backdrop if you want to, but essentially it should be written or typed out that day before the marriage ceremony. So then after you go about doing that, and the ketubah, there's a legal way to go about writing a ketubah, and the ketubah that I have used and that I would suggest others to use is the legal ketubah that was used by one of our forefathers by the name of Simeon ben Shetach, who lived during the Second Temple era, and he created a very good template for the ketubah. Now, some of the wording in it and what have you is a little obsolete, if you will, to our modern terms and our modern way of going about certain things, or just how our society is. But essentially, that ketubah could be used as a very good template to where only minor adjustments might need to be made. So what I'll do for Ko Yisrael is I'll type up in the description box that ketubah in the description box so that you can see it, and if you want to use that as your template and make some adjustments or what have you, just so that you have it, because it is written in legal wording form, just as a contract should be. So essentially, I'll do that for you. So now that the ketubah has been written the day before, now you're at the day of the ceremony. Now you're at the ceremony. So what would happen is that the man would come out of, okay, so you have the person that's performing the ceremony and whoever else that might be up there as well, and then you have the area where the bride and the groom will stand. Now the bride and the groom, they should stand facing east wherever they're standing. They should stand facing east. So the groom would come out of the room first, and then he would stand slightly to the left of the individual that would be doing the ceremony, and then the bride comes out, and she walks around her husband. She walks around the groom 7 times, going counterclockwise. Now, this is done the 7 times. Why 7 times? Well, we think about the 7 days of creation, the binding of creation through 7 days. We think about the Shabbat 7 days, and about how boys cannot be circumcised until 8 days, and livestock cannot be sacrificed until 8 days, being that they've lived through a 7-day, i.e. a Shabbat, and became a full or complete being. So those 7 cycles are essentially as the woman binding herself to that man, binding herself to her husband. So she would come out, walk around her husband 7 times, counterclockwise, and then she would stand to the right of her groom. And then the individual that is performing the marriage ceremony, they would start it off by taking a glass of wine, and with this glass of wine, they would do the bracha, the petition for the wine, being Baruch atah Yotewahe Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafim. So they would do that petition over the wine, and then another petition or statement is made after that, which essentially is, and I'll say that for you, which is, benevolent are you, Yotewahe, our Elohim, King of the universe, who has made us set apart through his commandments, and has commanded us concerning forbidden unions, forbidding us those who are betrothed, permitting us those who are wedded to us through the rite of the canopy and sacred covenant of marriage. Increased are you, Yotewahe, who sanctifies his people Israel by the rite of the canopy and sacred covenant of marriage. So that would be said after the person leading does the petition over the wine. Then that would be said. Now, real quick, let me rewind. The bride and groom should have a kuppah over their head, some kind of a covering. I would suggest using a talit gadol, a prayer shawl, and the man having it hanging over his head, and then respectively also hanging over the head of his wife. A talit gadol being the bigger one of the two, so you do have enough fabric and what have you to go about doing that. So I just wanted to note that as well, that there should be a kuppah covering of some sort. Some people might do it outside using a gazebo. That's fine too. I would just suggest a talit gadol. So that was the rewind. So after the wine petition is done, after that other petition that I just stated was done, then the bride and the groom would drink that wine that has been petitioned over. And then at that time, the groom turns to the bride, and he would say, "Behold, you are consecrated to me by this, in accordance with the law of Moses and of Israel." So I said by this, being it could be whatever it is that you and your wife have agreed upon being the gift, or the dowry, kind of in a sense, if you will, of what you will be giving her to show that she is your wife. So then after that is said, then there's another glass of wine that's poured, and 7 more petitions are said over this glass of wine. Now, generally, if there's other people that are a part of the ceremony, you have the individual that's leading. The groom might have some good brothers there. The bride might have some good sisters there. They might have family there, whoever. But for these next 7 petitions that are done over the second glass of wine, the first petition should be done by the one leading the ceremony, but then the following 6, they can be done by whoever wants to. If the person leading the ceremony wants to do all 7, have at it. But it does give an opportunity for if somebody's mother, father, brother, sister is there, to be able to also participate in the ceremony and say one of those petitions over the wine. So I'm not going to read through all 7 of these petitions, but I would suggest everybody getting a good siddur, a good prayer book, because many of them do include marriage ceremony and the process thereof. Just as a side note, the siddur that I use, the Koran siddur, in here it includes a part dealing with marriage service, and has all the petitions necessary. So you don't have to write them down or transcribe them off of this video or whatever else. But essentially, so 7 petitions are said, and then that second glass of wine, after the 7 petitions are said, is handed to the bride and the bridegroom. They drink that wine as well, between the both of them respectively, and then the groom would take, and this is a custom that did form later, because of course we know there would be no need for this custom before the temple was destroyed, but a little piece of glass, and there's specific glass that is purchased and used for this purpose, but it's glass that the groom steps on in symbolic fashion of the destruction of the temple, and he would step on it, and when he steps on it, after he steps on it, then he would say, "If I forgot you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill, may my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth, if I do not remember you, and if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy." And that comes out of Psalms 137. So that would be done after the 7 petitions are done over the wine, after the bride and groom drink that wine, and after the groom steps on the glass. Now, another rewind. I'm sorry. After the first glass of wine and the petition that came after that, after the groom has given a gift that they have previously spoken on to bind her to him, after that is done, then the individual leading the ceremony would read through the Ketubah, would read through the marriage contract. Then after they've read through the marriage contract, if there's also vows that either party has written for the other, that would be the time to do so. And then after that, then that's when the second glass of wine is poured. The 7 petitions are done over that wine, and then they're drunk by the bride and groom. And then the groom steps on the glass, says that verse in Psalms, and essentially at that point, the ceremony is over. Now, of course, ceremonies are accompanied by meals, and then after the meal, there are certain petitions that are done for the household, for the bride, for the groom, and whatever after the meal. But essentially, the ceremony at its, just the very origin, or the, very basics of the ceremony, if you will, just consist of starting from the first glass of wine all the way to the second glass, to the breaking of the glass under the groom's foot. So Israel, I just wanted to go through that very briefly. I know that there are many doctrines in Israel going around about marriage. Some people think that we don't need contracts, and that all you have to do is have sex with an individual and now you're married. So I just wanted to definitely make a video about this topic. It is a very important topic. Marriage between a man and woman is the very crux of the nation, the family. So it's very important that the family is strong, and that the family is built on a strong support, being the Most High. So we don't want to be getting, marriage contracts through the state, which bind, you, your spouse, and the state as the third party. Rather, let's do actual ketubahs, actual contracts that our forefathers used to do, in the ceremonies thereof, to bind you, your spouse, and the Most High as the glue. So definitely, Yisrael, let's continue to turn back, embody these ways. They're important. We can't have our sisters out here flapping without something in writing to protect them. We got to stop, as men in Israel, we got to step up and stop, taking the easy road and just, telling these women all we have to do is sleep with you, and you're my wife now, with no paper trail. So us as, we got to do better. We got to do better, Israel. And, Most High is holding us accountable, and ultimately he knows that we can, fill the shoes. So ultimately, hallelujah, let's continue to turn back into the ancient way. Israel, I love y'all. Let's continue to grow as a nation. Shalom, shalom.